Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Corner podcast, where, as always, I will let you know to get comfortable, grab yourself a nice cold beverage or hot beverage, whichever is you're choosing, and get ready to enjoy the show with us today. But before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, make sure that you check us out on all of our social media. Cody's laughing at me. I don't care. Making sure you check out all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page and make sure you hit the bell notification so that you can be notified every single time that one of these videos goes live, so that way you can stay in the loop, we can see the support, and it helps us know that people are listening, and it shows us some love, and we would greatly appreciate it. So let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. First, what was so fucking funny?
Let me enjoy my beverage, dude.
Your beverage, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Beverage.
Listen,
Shout out to Joe Biden.
Let me enjoy my.
Hey! It helps the economy grow.
I got them $1.9 trillion.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The whispering so weird.
It was so weird.
Benefits everybody, hurts no one.
You guys see that TikTok I sent you of
Yeah. That show is hilarious.
That guy's fucking funny.
But anyways, we're going to be getting into something kind of going on currently that's happened within the past week or so. If you are familiar with the man, as my article's still up here. This webpage that I'm working on just keeps updating ads like, hey, here's an ad, and then I lose all my information, so bear with me. But we're going to be talking about John McAfee, which, if you are unaware,
R.I.P.
R.I.P. If you are unaware of who he is, whether you're watching or listening, John McAfee was the creator slash person that started the McAfee antivirus system, which I'm sure most of you have probably seen. If you're not aware of it, trust me, you go on your computer, look it up, you'll know exactly what it is. It's one of the mainstays in the antivirus world. This man was like 75 years old, and just recently he committed suicide. And we're going to kind of go into how that started, where he was, everything with that. Because there's a lot of apparent suicide that happens with a lot of people that have information, so they say, or have dealings with certain people that we have in our higher up government, politicians, CEOs of different companies, you name it. Everyone's committing suicide, apparently.
So it's an in thing.
Yeah, apparently it's an in thing, you know. But yeah, John McAfee, 75 years old, committed suicide as he was about to be extradited from what was it, Spain?
Spain.
Yeah,
España.
Spain. Yeah, Spain, and he was going to come back to the United States, and I think it was a day or two before he was going to come back, or a day or two after.
2 days.
2 days after they gave the order that 2 days before he was going to get extradited back to the United States, he committed suicide in Spain in his prison cell. Kind of like Jeffrey Epstein and everybody else, you know, that's going to possibly have something to say. They're all just fucking killing themselves.
Not Maxwell.
Huh?
What?
What'd you say?
I said not Maxwell though.
Who the hell was oh, yeah, I know.
A little weird.
How she's still alive.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this,
up maybe. Who knows?
I want to get your guys' opinion on just the situation as a whole. Like,
he's dead!
I mean, thanks for clarifying. I appreciate the clarification.
Yep.
Show's over. He's dead. Case closed. No, this guy apparently had 31 terabytes, from what he said in a video, of information against what was it, CIA and Deep State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he says the Deep State, but he does say the CIA was the first people he was going to go after, and like two, I forget where they were from, two security people from somewhere. A different country.
Some like secure. Oh, okay.
It's a different country.
Like their own intelligence services or something like that. Probably Israel and some other one.
I want to say it was Barcelona, to be honest with you.
Barcelona.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about those specifics. I just knew he was heavily talking about Deep State in the video that I watched, where he was like coming out talking about it, where he said that if anything happens, he has all this information, 31 terabytes to be exact, from what he said, and that he would release it and show it to the public if he had to. And he was basically, from what you would assume, using it as leverage in his situation. You know, I mean, the dude's 75 years old. He obviously doesn't have a long rest of his life left, you know, if you're looking at the normal span of human life. But and he had a shit ton of money, regardless of the tax evasion situation as to why he was in prison and all that stuff.
Tax evasion, that's just what they use that for everybody. I mean, look at like going all the way back to Al Capone. What was the one thing they tried to get, or they did get him on? Tax evasion.
Yeah, it was the only way to
It's
catch
the
him.
same, yeah.
So they could tag everything else that they couldn't fucking stick before.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was the whole tax evasion, as Nick put in air quotes there. And they finally were going to bring him back, and then he offed himself, which me personally, I don't believe that he fucking killed himself. Just like,
why not, dude?
Huh?
Why not?
I mean, you look at the history, like I said in the beginning when I was doing the intro, of all the people that have committed suicide. I mean, all these suicide rates, all these people are threatening that they have all this info, and then they're getting put in a position or have the ability to say or release what they said they're going to do, and then they off themselves. It's like, why is it all the same? Why are people not getting killed, or they're not getting murdered in prison, or they're not just disappearing? Like, it's all suicide. It's always the same. It's almost like that is a specific thing because it's such a sensitive topic when you think of like where we are in the world today and our current climate with like mental health and what we need to do, which is a serious thing. I won't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like an easy thing to tag on something where someone won't ask questions because they think they're being insensitive with how everything is right now in our, societal climate, that no one's going to question it.
I could for sure see it as a certain type of symbol too to certain people. Like if you see a suiciding in jail, like, for the people who know are in that game, when they see that, like John McAfee seen Epstein suicided, then like it's like a warning, from the deep state to them, like this is what's gonna happen to you, basically.
What if he was just trolling? What if he decided he was gonna kill himself and decided to tweet all this stuff out right before he did it because he knew it would just
absolutely could be doing that too.
It is possible to do that too, but the reason that I find that hard to believe as to why he would be messing around like that is because of his age and where he was at his life. I mean, he's at the tail end of like, his road to death. Like what does he have to gain at that point in his life from what he's already achieved and all the things that he's done? What does he have to gain from sitting there and messing around and just fucking about?
What does he have to gain from saying he has this information but not releasing it right away?
Because like I said, he was probably, in my opinion, holding it as leverage because it's the only thing he had. I mean, you wouldn't show your hand and give away the one card that you have to play in the game.
I'm sorry,
if
dude.
It's all you have.
But if I had this information, I'd be fucking putting it out there immediately.
Yeah, but you also have to think.
That's my biggest problem with all this shit. Is all these people have this information, but none of it ever gets out.
It's like that Corey Feldman with that shit he's always talking about. Like, for sure, I agree with a lot of what he says, that there's pedophiles and stuff and that shit going on in Hollywood. But he's always talking about, like, he's going to be releasing names or, like, going and just saying shit about it, and he never does. He always is just, like, teasing it and stuff.
When he has a book signing, that's when he starts talking.
Yeah. And so I get that completely and can see that being a thing. I mean, this guy being that old, his assets probably, if he was in this battle with the deep state or whatever the hell was going on, his assets probably were frozen. And this was a way for him to make some money to keep continuing that kind of lifestyle, is, get some followers, get some clout on social media. It's probably a little harder to lock down those type of assets because he's bouncing around the world,
right?
Depending on how that all goes. So I could definitely see it being something like that.
Like you said about the book signing with like Corey Feldman and everything, and the only time he talks is when it's something that he can gain from. And I think that's why people don't just release things to release things. As much as they would love to release that information for the betterment of society and to actually, expose these things, they still want to profit off of it in some way, and they won't release or do that until they can gain something.
Yeah, so they're pieces of shit.
Exactly.
It tarnishes it for me too when people do that. It definitely does.
And I would agree with you, but I'm just saying that's the human condition. Everyone is, as much as they say I can do something to better people, they still want their piece. They want something in return, and that's just. I mean, we're all like that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can look at that in their point in life. You as much as people say that they are selfless, no one is 100% selfless. Nobody.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like.
I wouldn't try to profit off that shit.
I wouldn't either, me personally, and I agree with you. Like, I wish we had people like, Julia Assange, to.
I'm not saying
like,
I'm perfect. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
if I had that fucking shit, I'd be putting it out there.
Yeah, and there's
31
stuff.
terabytes, dude. That's a pretty specific amount.
Yeah.
Listen, I do believe that he was murdered. I don't want to get it twisted. I don't think he killed himself, but I'm just saying. Yeah. That's my biggest problem with all these fucking people. They don't just release the shit.
And I agree. I have an issue with that as well. I remember when he said that after he originally got his, like when this whole situation started, he was interviewed and he was talking about how after everything he got hit for in the beginning, before it really snowballed into what it was, he had donated and supported and helped giving a bunch of laptops to a lot of government leaders and officials to give them stuff, obviously for their offices and whatnot. But he had already said that he had put in spyware within those systems so that he could try to collect data to prove that they were trying to frame him. That's what he was originally trying to do, so that he could try to prove his case that he really didn't do what he thought that he did, and he was trying to defend himself. And the reason that he gained those 31 terabytes of data of what he wasn't expecting is because when he was trying to do that to help himself, he was like, well, they actually weren't doing that. And I found out all this extra shit. So I said, well, fuck, I'm just going to start collecting this. And so he started collecting that info. And apparently that's where he got the data from.
That makes me think of January 6th, to be honest with you.
How so?
Because 15 laptops went missing from government Congress.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's interesting, but again,
if you're just connecting dots and stuff that maybe shouldn't be connected, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's all this is, because that's all we're ever going to do. Because anything that comes with situations or conversations about stuff like this is there's never anything concrete, and even if there is something a little bit concrete, it gets lost in translation with all the extra bullshit that people come up with on top of it, and then it just gets misconstrued as being along with that.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. Well, and that's why when you try to, dissect all this shit, it just all looks fucked.
Well, the building falling is pretty, that's a dot that's pretty well connected now.
Yeah.
That's pretty universally known as connected now.
So that's for sure it was his residence and everything? I haven't looked too much into it. I just know of the one thing you sent me where he had said something about the corner of those two streets.
Yeah, there was
I didn't see if it was for sure.
I got something else on that though. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that for people who aren't following with what happened in Florida, obviously most people, probably everyone knows what's going on in Florida right now with the condo collapse that happened in Florida. And the reason we're bringing that up is in connection with John McAfee is because apparently there was a tweet, and obviously things can be photoshopped. We don't know if it's true. They're saying it's debunked. Obviously, even if it was true, they would probably say that regardless. So, use your own imagination, take it for what it is. There was a thing that said John McAfee owned a unit at that building that collapsed. The address of the building was 8777 Collins Avenue South. And there was an apparent tweet that has been going around where he stated, and I'm going to bring it up here so I can read it. It's in its entirety. Shit, they don't have a fucking... It said the only McAfee tweet about 31 terabytes of files is from June 9th, 2019, in which he claimed he owned incriminating data on corruption in governments, but he never said where the files were located. And they go on to say that if you try to find the tweet that everyone's sharing that you can actually read from his Twitter file, like I said, could be photoshopped, states that where he actually stores and locates that data, if anything ever happens, was specifically at that building. And a lot of people are saying, well, why would you give away where you have it? Because they're just going to either go raid it, take it, whatever. Why would you do that? And some people are like, well, he did that to see what they would do and to see how they would react. So if something crazy happened, you could be like, well, that's not actually where I had it, but I wanted to see what you would do if you thought that's exactly where it was. And so people are trying to say that the building collapsing is how they would respond, but that's not actually where he had it. So there's people are pulling strings on that stuff. But
all right, a few things I just want to touch on.
Yeah.
This tweet didn't have the exact address of the building. It just said the corner of this street and this street. The building just happens to be on the corner of that street and that street.
Yeah.
That's all. Didn't actually have the actual address. Couldn't use it as a Google Maps, you know what I'm saying, to locate it. But the other thing I want to point out, and I just came across this today, so I do not know much about it. But apparently, there's a family missing of a woman she's in another government, and this is why I didn't want to bring this up because I don't know it for sure, but she was trying to solidify Bitcoin as an actual currency in their country. And her and her family were in that condo and have been missing as it fell. So I don't know if that is a bigger connection than the McAfee stuff. If it's really if that's the real reason, because I think most people who have listened to us know how I feel about the Federal Reserve.
I was gonna say we've seen that for sure in Libya. So
well, the Titanic is the biggest example. Sorry, it is.
That too. Yeah.
I could see where it just happened to be at that ad. I don't know. It's just weird. It is weird that he would tweet that out with that corner, and then she's there with her family when she's trying to do this, and it collapses, and they're missing. I don't know.
Was it a country in Africa?
I can't remember.
Because I know I was just watching a couple things the last 2 weeks, and a couple times it was mentioned there's like a country I think in Africa that's making Bitcoin like their official currency, and how it they were talking about how like it helps them. It's going to help them develop a lot better than like other countries around or whatever they'd be called. I guess other countries in Africa around them and stuff that aren't doing it. I don't know for sure if that's where the lady's from, but it's just interesting because I was just, like I said, just hearing about that last week or two.
Well, the Bitcoin thing that you just brought up is very interesting because when we talk about fabricated things like we're saying here about where he gave the cross streets and stuff like that, but no one can actually find that tweet even though everyone's sharing it. If you go to his exact page, you can't find it anywhere. Which wouldn't put it past me that Twitter would delete something like that. You know what I mean? To say, well, it's not true, it's not there, and it's like But real quick, do you think that they purposely fabricated that themselves to distract from what Cody just said about the whole cryptocurrency thing so that people focused on that and no one even thought or even questioned the stuff that would be talked about with the cryptocurrency because that would be the real thing that mattered?
Could be. I was just sitting here thinking, getting real crazy speculative. And I was like, how they just
weird.
What was that crazy amount of Bitcoin they just transferred the last couple weeks?
Oh, it was like 37 billion.
Yeah.
30, I think it was 37 billion. It was transferred to an unknown wallet. Like, because Bitcoin, like I was explaining to you guys, you know where cryptocurrency is and where it gets moved. It's very traceable. Yeah. But you don't have to have the wallet marked. So it got moved to an unknown wallet.
They just know it's in there.
They just know it's there. They just don't know who owns it or what it's for or anything.
So I'm sitting here like, I wonder if that's connected at all. If that was maybe a payment. He tweeted out something he knew about where maybe this lady was going to be. He's working with the deep state. They move that money, that Bitcoin that they just got in that ransom for the pipeline to him. And then he tweets out, her location and then they just destroy her.
Oh, Jesus. That's brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been cases, and I can't cite them off the top of my head, so take it for
obviously crazy speculation. I'm just saying.
There's tons of cases where crazy stuff happens, and no pun intended, because it is a serious situation, and I feel bad for the families that are still missing and the people that have died from this. But something so big will happen to bury one minor small detail in something, so that it all gets lost in the rubble. And I'm not trying to use puns to make jokes about this. I'm just literally trying to use it for what it is.
They do it all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like one thing they need taken care of, but it's like if we can cause such a mass issue, then it literally gets lost in the pieces.
Yep. No, they do that. They do that stuff all the time. They love doing things like that because it is easier to hide those details and the bigger picture of everything going on.
Yeah, because no one asks questions in a mass disaster.
No,
how did the disaster happen and where are these people? That's all they care about.
Yeah, and it's understandable.
Yeah,
completely understandable. But sometimes after the dust settles, you got to ask questions and just see kind of what's going on. It's good to poke and prod a little bit just to see.
It's like the people who have the 9/11 theories, everyone that obviously that was a horrible situation and a horrible stain on our nation from that we were attacked on. But then you get afterwards people who dissect that situation and say that there was something underlying within that we're not seeing because we were blinded by the fact that there was such loss of life and chaos that was brought upon us, and we're being blinded by it, that we're not saying that it could have been something else. And then you get the people that say, well, no, it was this, and you can see, and then they got diagrams and theories and conspiracies, and it is what it is. And I think there's some truth to a lot of it, not as much as people say, but when you see stuff coming out like this and people are trying to connect these two different things that are completely separate, it's just weird. And I don't know if like they're crazy. I'm crazy for thinking that maybe there's some validity, but not everything. It's like I don't know what to believe anymore with anything.
It's tough. It is. It definitely is tough.
El Salvador is the country.
El Salvador. Oh, so not even in Africa and fucking.
Oh, for the cryptocurrency?
Well, they're looking to be the first country to use Bitcoin as their national currency.
It's interesting. I'm wondering how far that's going to go. Like, where are we? Like, as I know we've talked about it before, or you guys have brought it up, where you see it becoming like the norm because of how it's being used currently, and how just fickle it is and easy it is to manipulate.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are losing confidence in the U.S. dollar, which I mean, you can see why. Inflation's going crazy right now. We printed all that money, devalued the currency like by a shit ton. The Fed just continuously prints it. And then a lot of the times too, it's like they just put zeros in people's bank accounts and stuff. It's like it's all fake shit. So people around the world, countries are losing confidence in it. Some developing countries, they could use Bitcoin. It's somewhat well established more than, building their own currency from the ground up to that point. It'd just be easier. And that's why you see too with like Russia trying to get away from the US dollar and all that. They're doing the petrodollar or whatever that they do. China, once they're getting away from a lot of those countries and stuff, they're just trying to get away from it. They see what's going on right now in the US. The economy's just, it's not that, and the whole economic and financial situation of the US isn't good right now.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
And the only thing keeping it together is the fucking military, the American empire, all our bases around the world. Everything, that's literally the only thing that's propping up the US dollar, is that we'll go into any country and just bomb the fuck out of them. Yeah, because we're defending, it's all in self-defense. So
yeah, and if you look at something like cryptocurrency, it's not tied to one nation. Like it can be a global thing because it's just an entity of a way of paying and using money. It's not something that one nation
can control. One government can control. Yeah,
exactly. And it could be a global thing, and that could be the new dominating force when it comes to financial market.
Yeah, and that's why it is kind of, I don't really know shit about cryptocurrency, but that aspect of it, the decentralization of it, I think is exciting, because you take that also not just out of government hands with their central banks, but you take it out of banks' hands a lot too, which we've seen for the last, at least in America, at least the last 100 years or so, big banks joined at the hip with government, and we've seen what it's done to our country and our economy. So again, I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency, but just the prospects of it are kind of exciting to see what could happen.
Sorry, I was gonna say I can't find that chick's name, but I don't even know if she was from El Salvador. But I do find it interesting now that El Salvador announces they will give $30 in Bitcoin to their citizens who download the government's crypto app before the token becomes their legal tender in September.
There you go.
And that was the 25th.
And what were we just discussing? It's such a malleable currency, and if you don't understand the word malleable, which I'm not insulting anyone's intelligence. It's
you are. Yeah, he is. This guy's in college. Don't let him fool you.
I know.
He's an asshole.
I'm so just so informed.
That military training.
That's what made him malleable.
That's true. It's true. I was Play-Doh'd into their puppet.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see the video of the building collapsing?
I think I've seen bits of it or something.
I just saw it on the news the day that it happened because my dad was watching in his office and brought it to my attention. So that was the only thing I saw of it other than reading articles and seeing pictures.
Looked like an explosion, dude.
Well, was there like a flash or something before it happened, or just like the way it collapsed and caved in or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way it fell, the top falls first. You would think if, they said it was structural damage at the base from, what they say, like sinking or something like that, you would think it would collapse from below.
Like erosion.
Yeah.
And it
from the bottom.
It was from the top down in like the middle, and it was like half the building. And I don't know. It's hard to say if there was like little flashes. It looks like it in the videos, but you don't know if those are edited and stuff. The one they showed on Fox right away, people were breaking that down right away. They're like, Fox is literally showing like this building looks like a controlled demolition the way it falls. There's no like chaotic falling from, you know, the structural of the entire building falling, because part of the building's still up. You would think like if it's collapsing within itself, it would just bring the whole thing down, or sinking, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their explanation was fucking terrible, because it was made with like Chinese steel or some shit. What are they? No, seriously, this is what they said, like bamboo steel, or it was some weird ass fucking, wasn't like real steel or something supposedly.
Well,
but building like really just decided to fall like that.
See, and that goes back to what I said about when people start talking about the 9/11 theories and how people depict these buildings.
There's no theory about 9/11. The government did that. There's no fucking theory about it.
They didn't do
fact.
it directly. They didn't do it directly.
I'm just saying, when people discuss,
they definitely knew about it and just sat on their hands and did jack shit about it.
They fucking did it.
I believe that too.
The plane that hit the Pentagon had no fucking terrorists on it. That was on purpose, dude. They covered up their losses. They were David Ershad, the fucking government, right?
No, for sure. But that's the one for sure that's like, yeah, they did that just so they could do their accounting bullshit because they lost that money the day before or whatever.
Sure, they knew there was going to be an attack, but they took advantage of it.
Yes.
Just like Pearl Harbor. They knew it was coming, and they said, let it happen. Let's go to war. Let's save the economy.
Why would we attack ourselves? Who would do that?
They just found an opportunity and took advantage of it, just like they did with COVID.
Quit hitting yourself. Quit hitting yourself.
Funny story that also ties into why we've been bombing Syria for the last fucking 15 years. All goes back to 9/11. Everything changed then. People don't realize that.
Well, that's when, I mean, I think America already knew it because of George Bush's dad, but then through Clinton and then definitely George Bush, that's when, like, I should say our elites that run all this shit, basically our country and the military and all that, they realized then and there, like, okay, we know we have a kick-ass military, and now we know we could just do whatever we want around the world, and our allies are basically just going to be like, if they're not going to at least send troops, they're not going to say no.
Yeah.
And America since then, has completely changed. It's just been one country after another. If they got something we want, we just go in there and fuck them up and take it. And that's,
Like, Syria has an elected president. Like, whether we like it or not, that guy was elected as the president. But we just continue to bomb him because fuck him.
Nope. Who gives a fuck?
And it's like, I don't know. There's like a weird thing of like whether it's constitutional or not, because Congress technically,
so
there's some muddied waters with that.
It's and then I know it goes all the way back to Nixon and stuff during Vietnam, because that was when they really started fucking around with like the War Powers Act and stuff like that. Because obviously Congress is the only one that's allowed to just fucking
declare war.
Right. They don't do that shit. But I know I've seen something where they're going back to the authorization of military use or whatever from 2001 or whatever the hell they gave Bush.
That's what I'm saying.
That they're supposedly operating under. But even then, I don't even think that really covers it, because then you look at Obama when he went to bomb Syria originally, when they said Assad was gassing his own people. Congress told him no. They voted no, that he wasn't to do that. He had no authorization, no nothing to do it. What did he do? He did it fucking anyways. And what did Congress do? Nothing.
And then Trump did it.
Yeah.
And nobody did anything. And now Biden's done it twice. Guy hasn't even been in office for half a year, and he's bombed this country twice.
As far as the constitutionality goes, we haven't fought a constitutionally legal war probably since World War II, to be honest. I could maybe see Korea and Vietnam being constitutionally like legal, but there hasn't been one since then.
Yeah, I talked to a buddy of mine that I served with, and I haven't talked to him in like 10 years, and I didn't realize that he actually got deployed to Syria, and he did artillery over there, and he told me when I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, situation over there is just fucked. Like, like he's like, there's no point. He's like, we're blowing it up, but he's like, I don't understand why.
There's no reason.
There is no reason.
Oil.
He's like, and this is like the deranged mindset. He's like, normally you get excited when you're like, yeah, we're killing the enemy. He's like, I truly didn't give a shit. He's like, I was like, I don't want to be here.
That's the thing too. Like, Trump was literally going to pull troops out, and that's when the government was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then he was like, fine, I'll leave enough to keep the oil.
And he said it publicly.
And nobody questioned it.
Nope.
Everybody knows why. But
And he even verbatim said, he's like, I know that's what they want. He's like, I know that's all they care about.
but it is.
Yep.
And they were like, shit.
I don't even think they said shit. They were just happy that he was going to cuck out. Should have pulled him.
No, what was it? That was right around after he bombed Syria too. That they called him. That was his most presidential like act or something like that.
Yeah.
The one time the corporate media, I should say, just praised Trump and that he was acting presidential was when he bombed Syria. And it's like, this is
Weird.
If this doesn't open people's eyes, like, I mean, I don't know what else does. Like, and then to distract people even further, I still think it's a huge deal that they didn't talk foreign policy at all this last round of debates. I really don't understand how people don't have more of an issue with that. But then they do all this, like, they start delving into the culture, like we talked about. Was it last episode or so? Distracting people with culture.
Culture war, baby.
Yeah, with this whole woke bullshit in the military now, which Adam, I'm sure, has got to piss you off because that spreads division within the military. And what's the one thing you don't want in the military is division. Everybody's supposed to be one unit, have each other's backs. Like,
there's a reason we have the best military in the world is because there's cohesion and there's unity, and no one is better or worse than the other. You are all the same, point blank, period, no matter what. And they tell you that from day one in training. If you're a racist, if you're a sexist, if you're anything like that, get the fuck out of here. We want nothing to do with you because we are all one people. And that's the point.
Dude, I'm sure, like, I've seen, like, Tim's brother went through that training and shit, and just seeing the difference that basic did to him, like, it was like, this is like a different dude. Like,
yeah, because they instill that in you because they're like, we don't have time for that. If you have any of those thoughts, you can tell us and we will kick you the fuck out because we don't have time for you. You're not, that is not what we want. And when they create these commercials or they do these things about division and they're trying to incorporate all this shit, it goes against everything that they've created and based the military on, and it's causing problems.
Yeah.
You know? And even when they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I was there for that. I was in when that happened, and I was fine with it. I was like, I don't give a shit. Fine. If someone wants to be openly and be like, I'm gay now and I'm still serving, great. You know what? You're still the brother next to me that I know is going to take a bullet for me. I don't give a shit. But when the way that they're doing it now is they're just forcing certain things down people's throats, and it's like it's the wrong way to do it. Giving someone the liberty to be vocal about something is fine. But what they were trying to do and what they're doing now, totally, I don't agree with it whatsoever.
Yeah, just to go back to Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I remember hearing about that when I was little, and like, I just always was like, who gives a fuck? Yeah. Like, what would Don't Ask, Don't Tell? How about just like nobody gives a shit? Like, I always thought it was weird going back.
99% of the military jokes are about gay jokes, and that's nothing against gay people. That's what we do, and that's just what's funny about it. So when they're like, people are going to be openly gay, we're like, okay, cool. Like, it doesn't matter because they're not going to get offended by it because obviously we've been doing this for the longest time. It's just they actually do that. Good for them. I don't care. Like, we're all fighting the same people. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, there's something weird too about if you're sitting there going to battle with somebody next to you, like live fire and shit like that, and you're going to get offended at gay jokes. Like,
yeah,
it's a little retarded.
Or like, oh man, this guy came out as gay. I don't know if he's going to come in here with me. Like, we've done a million of these, but I don't know if he's really built for this. Like... Yeah, no, I agree. That shit just builds division.
One of my best friends in the military before they repealed that was a gay dude, and I knew it, and he told me I didn't give a shit. I trusted that dude with my life. I didn't care that he loved men. I didn't give a fuck because I knew if it came down to it, he'd murder the person that was trying to murder me, and I'd love him for it.
So what that he has dick breath? I don't give a shit.
I don't care. I don't care.
No, it is. It's stupid. It's just, again, they just distract people with the cultural issues and bullshit while
critical race
still
theory,
bombing the same country. And the critical race theory, that's all it does is just breed division. It makes no sense. I agree.
It makes people like, I get there's no matter how much you teach critical race theory, I can understand the idea of it. But there are people who are just going to hate people for whatever reason. And there's other people who on the other side who are going to hate people for whatever reason. But those people in the middle who don't think about that ever, you're just like forcing them to
99% of America.
Yeah, and you're just going to force people to think about it. Like, oh, you're going to sit through this class and think about how you're such a bad fucking person because of it. Like, you got like fucking Coca-Cola telling their employees to be less white. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like literally, what the fuck does that mean?
It really makes no sense it makes you focus so intently on race as if it's people's only aspect of being a human being is their race.
Yeah.
When it's like, hey, didn't we get over that shit? Like, I know when I was growing up, it was all about tolerance and being tolerant. Even though, like, I don't know, my generation, I didn't even think they really needed to preach it to us because I was just like, I don't think anybody, like, in my age range, it felt like honestly, a lot in our generation, it felt like a lot of that shit just died out. Like, nobody gives a shit to be racist or sexist or anything anymore. They're just like, there's no point for it.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're to focus on somebody's race as if it's their only trait as a human makes no sense. And to do it to kids when the kids are growing up and learning, to make them think you're going to do one of two things. You're going to have a bunch of, because it is mainly telling white people that they're the most terrible people for being white, no matter what they've done. You're going to have kids growing up either A, becoming white supremacists because they're going to be like, you're just sitting there talking shit about them all the time. Or you'll have a group of kids that just self-defeat us, not going to do anything because they just got this white guilt and all this bullshit. It's not good for children.
No, and I agree. And they're starting it way too early. Like Tim Dillon, funny ass comedian, openly gay, by the way, fucking hilarious fucking comedian. Yeah. Great follow on Twitter. He tweeted out just the other day a bunch of kids books that were all about like basically culture war shit. One was called Anti-Race Racist Baby. It's like, why the fuck is there a little kids book about not being racist? They have no fucking clue what they're even comprehending. But you're like rebreeding a new generation of racists so you can regain power. Because I feel like that's become such a like mute thing anymore that they are trying to clamp down harder on that and almost like regenerate like a racist narrative.
Yeah.
To get people to think more racist because they've lost that control. Because and I think this is like most clear in like political views when you look at like what people believe nowadays. Like you can talk to a Republican and they are not like when we were growing up, like I know how my uncle was, I know how your dad was, I know how my dad was. Those aren't Republicans anymore. Like Republicans are very like, yes, they're like constitutional, love America, blah, 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 guns, freedom and shit. But they're very like, all right, if you want to choose to have like most Republicans now are like, they're fine with you having a choice for an abortion now.
Yeah.
That's like one of the biggest points.
They don't give a shit about any of that anymore.
They don't care about like gay people, they're more open than I think ever before. And I feel like they're just trying to recreate that power struggle because they're fucking losing it. That's why I always say I think Trump was just a perfect storm at the perfect time. Because he almost like, and this is why I always say I want fucking Dave from El Presidente from Barstool Sports to fucking run for president, because I feel like he is like the new face of like the Republican Party. He's fucking, obviously he's fucking rich, so he's got that going for him, but he's very like anti-PC. He fucking says what's on his mind. He speaks the truth whether you like it or not, and he doesn't care to use vulgar language. But he's also like, he's compassionate. He raised all that fucking money for those small businesses. He did more for small businesses than the fucking government did during the pandemic.
That's for fucking certain.
Just because he knew it was the right thing to do. I just feel like he's like the new face of like what the Republican Party stands for, because there are so many. And I know I told this to Nick when the election was going on, and I know there's algorithm with social media, they push certain things towards you that you like to keep you on their side or whatever, but there are so many kids that are like high school, like going into college, that are fucking Republican, that I was like, God, I was like, when I was in high school, obviously I've kind of like smartened up now, but I was like Republican guy in high school, very conservative. And I was like, I felt like I was like alone. Like there was like 5 to 10 of us maybe that I knew, you know, and everybody else.
So when Bush was president, it was, you know, popular to, not that it wasn't wrong, but it was popular to hate on Bush in the Iraq and Afghanistan war.
Right.
So it was like, you would have been alone then.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously like I don't know when I started to like kind of wake up to politics. I think it was Obama personally, because I did vote for Obama because I was like, all right, this shit needs to change. I actually believed Obama, and I actually still to this day believe that he probably would have done something, but he got fucking corrupted by the government. I fully believe that. I believe 100%. That he could have made some changes.
100%.
And he just fucking totally got taken over by the system.
He had the right intentions, and then it went wrong.
Right. And I feel like that was a breaking point for people because I think people like openly saw that because I mean, how many fucking votes did he get?
Well, he was before this last election. He had got the most votes, the most popular votes out of any president in history.
Yeah, and
then Trump smashed it, and then Biden somehow got more than Trump.
Yeah, that's to be seen.
Yeah, true.
Still, which is crazy to think about, by the way. It's crazy to think about we're this far into a new president and we're still auditing fucking the election. It's crazy.
How long did yeah, it was forever ago. I'm curious how long that Bush and Gore one went.
It took like 6 months, I think.
6 months.
I want to say it was 6 months. So we're past that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess technically.
We're 7 months into this year alone.
We breached that point.
Yeah. And
the only reason it's taken this long, honestly, is because of the kickback and fight against it. If it was just allowed to happen, we wouldn't have, regardless of the outcome. Excuse me, we wouldn't have passed the 6 month mark. It's the struggle to have it happen. That's the problem.
And the media continuing to dispute it and delegitimize it. I sent Nicholas a clip of a girl in Arizona who just openly admitted that when the audit's finished, it's not going to represent the election that they solidified and certified in Arizona. And I was like, did she just like openly, literally admit like, yeah, this is going to flip? Like,
I think she was saying it more for her partisan audience, though, like because the people who watch that are already like, oh god, the Republicans are just auditing this so they can get the results that they want. So she's just saying that to kind of like, toss that little nugget out there for her audience to be like, oh yeah, like just some, something to agree with their bias and all that shit. I think that's why
it's a weird statement.
Like that. It is definitely, but I think that's honestly,
especially on CNN. It's a weird statement.
Yeah,
it was a weird conversation.
That's all CNN is. CNN has a lot of weird conversations. With that stupid one dude, what's his name, Stelter? He talks about Fox News all the time. He was talking about like, I don't even know the Fox News hosts and all that shit, but how they weren't like getting selfies, getting the vaccine and stuff like that. It's like, aren't you guys a news station? What are you reporting on other news stations for? It's weird.
Did you hear the courts are made? I believe it was CNN. They made CNN make him like the same shit that happened with Tucker Carlson. He had to say like, I'm opinionated news.
Oh, him and Rachel Maddow.
And Rachel Maddow, they got forced by the courts to say. As if people shouldn't know.
Yeah, and it's like, because that's why I was watching something today that that Crystal and Sager were talking about it, and they were quoting some of what the court wrote, and the court even said in there like, I don't know how they phrased it because how all of that lawyerly talk goes, but basically the court said anybody in their right mind would know that this isn't news, basically, and I'm like, you say that. But, like, there's a lot of people that think that that's fucking news. Like, a lot of people.
You know who I thought of when I read that, dude? He's going to hate me for saying this, but Kevin's parents, dude.
Oh, dude, I honestly, anytime I think of Rachel Maddow, I think of my Aunt Pat, too, unfortunately. Because she jokes about it, too, back. Because I feel like part of her knows, but, like, she's just... Yeah. She's been so far in the shit, and she don't care at this point, so...
It's up to you, DOJ. You need to do something. You need to stop it. You need to put an end to this.
Yeah.
Now.
Again, I think that's the CIA threatening them because she's just a CIA talking piece. That's all she is.
There's not someone here off camera holding a gun in my head. You need to fucking do something right now.
That's why she's always crying. She's always got a gun pointed at her, dude.
No, it's because they're sitting there behind the camera acting like they're going to rip up those $1 million checks.
Gotta love it. Funny story. I gotta say this. I don't care. I was talking to. I know I told you this. I was talking to Sean once about Rachel Maddow, and he was like, "I'm not sure who that is." And I sent him a picture. He was like, "Oh, I know who he is." It's fucking hilarious.
I love that guy. I'm gonna say that, and no offense to anybody, I truly don't give a shit. Honestly, I'm gonna next time I get a haircut, they're gonna be like, "What are you going for?" I'm gonna be like, "Rachel Maddow." I was like, "Give me this haircut."
It's like Meet the Millers when he's describing his haircut, and the guy's like, "Right here, pal."
He's like, I want that. I hate my life. I'm super depressed. If I go home, my wife is a piece of shit to me. I think about killing myself, this and that. He wants what I got. So depressing.
But true.
Very true.
Sad but
Very
true.
true. Oh,
Metallica knew, dude. Metallica knew.
They did.
Oh, quick note. I know this is completely random, but I just wanted to say this towards the end here. Did you guys look into what I sent you about Gavin Newsom getting recalled?
Since I haven't looked into it, but I find that interesting.
They were signing that petition, and then now there's like a bunch of wealthy people backing him to not get recalled or whatever the hell it is. Like,
so what happened is that there was enough petition signatures for him to get recalled by law. They had over 1.7 million signatures
Jesus.
that they needed to get him recalled. And they, after that it got finalized, they said, well, after it gets finalized, there's a 30-day grace period where if anyone wants to pull back their signature, they have the right to do so. And only 43 people out of that 1.7 million pulled back their signatures. So it still went through. And so within 90 days, they have to have a re-election for the governor of California, which I think is great. But the one thing I'm nervous about is that Caitlyn Jenner is running as a Republican candidate for the governor's seat of California.
Why does that worry you?
Because I don't have faith that he, whatever you want to say, would do good she would do good in office, period.
Why?
I've listened to her talk. I've listened to what she's had to say. I know her heart is in the right place with like how she's motivated as a Republican and stuff like that, which is fine. But I don't see her being like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he wasn't a great person in office for California.
He fucked his maid, dude. Come on.
I'm just saying.
It's a great man. All I think of is Bill Burr when I hear Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's in the fucking zone.
Take him for everything by that whore of a maid he's got.
He was in the fucking zone for 30 years.
What do you think she got with him because of that 1980s flat top he's rocking? Or maybe it's all they came around top.
That's just hilarious.
Like, that dude should have been unloading trucks in Transylvania. That should have been the highlight of success.
So you don't think I think she's gonna win, and I think she's gonna do a great job.
I think she has a good chance of winning. I don't believe that she would do a great job. And what I find is funny is when I was looking up interviews to listen, like legitimately listen to what she had to say, because I wanted to know. Like, I'm not just sitting here being biased. Like, I watched all these interviews of her talking about it. She was on The View, and The View, of course,
it's a terrible place to get your source from.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of like many that I watched. Did
they even let her talk for more than like 5 seconds?
Well, this was the interesting thing. They asked her. They were like, do you think Trump won the election even though Biden won? And Caitlyn Jenner said, well, that election's over. I'm not going to discuss that. It's already been done and dealt with. I want to talk about things for it. And she was like, no. Did you think Trump won the election being a Republican even though Biden won? And she was like, I'm not going to discuss that. And they just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. It's like, let that shit go. You could tell that they were trying to bait her into bringing that up so that they could fucking steamroll
so they can get views.
And she straight up was like, that's done and over with. I'm not discussing that. We're talking about future things. And she was like, no, do you think that he won?
There's one interview that you're allowed to watch on The View, and that's Donald Trump Jr. Tell Joy Behar that she wore blackface. He's like, Joan, you wore blackface.
No, the funniest interview on The View was not interview, but they had, what was it, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter on there. And they were talking shit about Trump, and she said out loud at the whole group table, she was like, oh, Donald Trump, you want to get rid of all the Mexicans and block them at the border? Well, let me ask you, who's going to be cleaning your bathroom? And who's going to be cleaning your house? And they were like, whoa. And she was like, I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I'm saying? They're like, no. It was the funniest shit. Like, who's going to clean your bathroom? It was like, oh my God, this poor woman. No idea what she just said.
Yeah, The View's terrible to get your source from.
Well, it is. Like I said, it was one of many that I watched because I watched every single facet because I want to see what people are asking her. I want to see how she responds to it, all that stuff. And it blew my mind that they were like pushing that fact. It's like, if it's
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The more interesting thing to me is how the Democrats are going to attack her.
Transgender woman.
That don't mean shit to them.
I want to see how they'll attack her.
They've already proven they don't really have any principles.
And I know it's not going to happen, but part of me wants Caitlyn Jenner to make a fucking commercial where she literally says, like, I've succeeded at every facet of my life. I dominated as a man, and now I plan to dominate as a woman. Like, I want that fucking commercial, man.
Ad,
like, has him winning all the Olympic golds, and then they just pan to her winning, like, Woman of the Year. She's like, I've dominated every facet of my life. Like, I want it so bad, dude.
She even sang on The Masked Singer, too.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fucking hilarious.
It'd be great, dude.
It's the same thing as Arnold winning. He was like, I'm famous for lifting weights. Became famous in movies, despite the fact no one could understand me. Married into royalty, learned the language, held public office. How many lifetimes? I lift weights. Nobody gives a shit.
Bill Burr needs to run for office, dude. It'd be great to have a comedian run for office, dude, and just in a debate and just fucking shred their opponent.
He would be funny to watch in a debate, but I don't think like the actual job of politics. I don't see him.
Oh no! I'm not saying I want him in office. I just want to see him do a debate.
Just to see him debate, though, that would be great. I think he'd be good for that.
What do you mean? You're a fucking asshole,
dude. He'd be calling all of them cunts.
Him and Tim Pool, dude. I think Tim Pool is my new favorite comedian because that dude is just fucking. Or not Tim Pool. What the fuck am I saying? Tim Dillon.
I was gonna say Tim Pool's a podcast.
I will take Tim Pool running for fucking office. I'll take that shit.
Be solid. At least you get somebody who knows like truthful and not fucking cucked out. So
he's true to himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that tidbit out. I don't know if you guys, I sent you guys that article, but I didn't know if you like read into it and see what was happening with that. But yeah,
I read that. I read it happen, but that was it.
Yeah, and then Gavin Newsom basically came out in like a public statement and was like, "It is what it is," blah blah blah, and like,
I shouldn't have had dinner when I told everyone to stay home.
I couldn't say no to crab cakes. All right, crab cakes. I had dinner. I authorized the salon to give, what's her face, her hair done. Pelosi, her hair done.
They framed her, dude.
Yeah, the salon.
I was shot up.
Had the full fucking ability to be like, we're gonna frame this bitch. I know we cut hair, but we have the mentality to frame.
We have the technology.
Every curling iron you see in here, mic'd.
Isn't that even scarier? Like to admit that a fucking hair salon can fucking set up our Congress people. That's how fucking stupid they are.
Or next time Biden goes to an ice cream shop, he's like, it was a setup. Everything they do, there was arsenic in my vanilla.
I didn't have mint chocolate chip. I had to get vanilla. I'm now racist.
I said mint chocolate chip. They gave me microchip.
chocolate chip. Oh!
That's why he's bombing Syria.
It's like,
they didn't have mint chocolate chip.
Why haven't you visited the border? Chocolate chip.
Did you see Kamala? She was like, Trump says he's going down to the border, and conveniently 3 days before he's supposed to be there, she shows up finally, but she doesn't go to the border. She goes fucking almost 1,000 miles away from the border and only does a press conference inside an airport and another public place. And all she does is talk shit about him and blame him for the whole situation and then bounces out.
Sounds about right. I didn't see that, but
yeah, she just did that recently. Everyone's been asking her. She said, I'll go down there at some point. I'll do what I need to do, blah, blah, blah. Trump says, I'm going down there to meet with the Texas officials. And then 3 days before he gets there, she shows up.
Yeah, she didn't even go to the border, though.
That's what I said. 1,000 miles away from the border. It was like 800 some miles away.
And she said she was only doing it to solidify what they did in Guatemala. Which means she went to the border to say, do not come.
I'm going to come.
I'm going to come.
That's the best soundbite of Trump. I don't give a shit.
I'm going to come.
It's the best.
It's the best.
It's one of the best all time.
The goated fucking TikTok MLB The Show when you hit a perfect. I'm gonna come.
That was the best. And then the Kamala Harris one just top
Do not come. I'm gonna come.
Dude, I saw a video today where Trump did that speech in Ohio just recently, and he was talking about the media, because I know we were discussing, Fox and them coming out and saying we're opinionated news and all that shit. And he's like, you think they miss me? He's like, you think they miss me? He's like, their ratings tanking, like I said they would. He's like, you think they'd love to have me back right now? He's like, I called it. I knew it the whole time, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's why CNN and them are airing his fucking rallies. He's not even really rallying for it. He was rallying to keep Anthony Gonzalez in office. Like, people think like, oh, he's rallying for he was rallying to help keep Anthony Gonzalez in office. That's what he was there for.
There or something.
Yeah, dude. You don't remember Anthony Gonzalez, dude? He played at Ohio State, dude. And then he played for the Colts, the wide receiver.
I'm thinking of Tony Gonzalez, dude. No.
Oh man, Anthony Gonzalez, dude. Yeah.
Not ringing any bells.
Then he won a seat over in that area, and he's trying to help keep him in office. It was funny too. CNN did like a thing on how people were leaving early from the rally, yeah. And it was like it's hilarious because some dude broke it down. They're like, "All right, I live in this area. There's literally only 2 roads out of here. So if you don't leave earlier, you're going to be sitting there for 2 to 3 hours tops."
Yeah.
They were like, look, they're leaving in droves. They don't even want to hear what he has to say. And
I was going to ask, you guys went to Tony's that day, didn't you?
Yeah.
You guys see any traffic going out there?
Oh, yeah. We went around it, but you could see on the one road, like it was backed up terribly. And then his brother-in-law was talking about it, and he said the same thing. He's like, we went down there for a little bit and then just left because there's one way in and one way out.
Yeah, that's literally.
That's what I had mentioned. I was like Blossom. He's like, yeah, it's pretty much as bad as Blossom. He's like, you'll be there for 2-3 hours just waiting to get out.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, yeah, fuck that.
Oh, thank you.
Leaving Blossom's a nightmare.
Yeah.
The minute I hear we're gonna have 1 or 2 more songs, I'm like, peace. I'm out.
Yeah, that shit's awful.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. Went from John McAfee, some
It's been a long week, dude.
La la la
la la la la la la.
And then an enemy. And then an enemy.
Don't hurt yourself, okay? Just don't hurt yourself. Yeah, is there anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap this up? I think we kind of touched on a lot of shit.
John McAfee didn't kill himself.
Yep.
Yeah, he did not kill himself. Nor did Jeffrey Epstein and a lot of other people, but that's all hearsay. It's all been debunked.
McAfee, dude.
Yeah, you got McAfee.
Kurt Cobain killed himself, but not John McAfee.
Kurt Cobain did not kill himself, dude.
No, he was coerced.
I mean, he physically pulled the trigger, though.
Yeah, but they used mental warfare.
I don't think so.
They did, yeah. Do you think straight up she fucking pulled the trigger?
I don't even think OJ did it, dude.
No, OJ definitely did it.
I don't think so.
That bitch was cheating on him with her. He definitely did that shit.
Listen, here's my theory on this. It was his son. Why they had to let him go?
Because Rodney King shit.
I think it was his son, and he tried to cover it up for him.
Oh, OJ did it. OJ did that shit.
I think you got a very closed mind, dude.
He wrote a book about it.
If he did it,
this is how I would have done it.
Yeah, because his son made mistakes, dude.
Takes balls, okay? I didn't do it, but if I was going to kill the bitch, this is how
I planned on it. My son beat me to the fucking punch.
That's like somebody being like interrogated. And they're like, did you want to kill her? And you're like, I thought about it 1,000,000 times. Did I? No. But did I think about it? Oh, yeah.
Here, I got this book. Buy it.
Wood chipper and an alligator, dude. It's a foolproof system.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Now we're getting into OJ theories. That's totally ridiculous.
I got a lot of shit in my mind, dude.
Should think about OJ and Broncos, dude.
But I want to thank everyone for listening. If you got to the end of the show, thank you very much. As I said in the beginning, if you can do us a huge favor, support us over on all of our social medias. As I said, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube so you can get notified on every single video. Hit that bell notifications and make sure you click all notifications so that way every single one of these videos that comes up, you can be notified immediately and you can stay in the loop with us and we can see the support from you. There is a couple of things that I've been talking with these guys. I know I should have said in the beginning, we might be doing a little bit of changes and kind of broadening how we're doing the show, but it's going to be really exciting, something that you should look forward to. And it's going to be fun to make. So we're going to be doing that. We'll kind of talk about that as we figure it out. Just wanted to throw it out there. So something exciting for you guys to look forward to. And if you know anyone that would thought that, fuck.
I thought you were about to have a stroke.
I almost had a stroke.
I was like, oh my God.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
All right. I'm just gonna wrap it up there. Just stay tuned for more info, and you stay classy and have a great fucking week.
Peace.
Cheers.